The arena was massive. Giant metal walls circled a battlefield made of cracked stone and scorched dust. Thousands of aliens filled the seats, green skin, shining eyes, wings, horns, and claws. Creatures from every corner of the galaxy watched. The center ring, waiting to see blood. But when they saw the human walk in, they laughed. He was small compared to the others. He limped. His right arm hung uselessly by his side, wrapped in dirty bandages. His face had a long scar across it. His armor was old and scratched. He looked weak. He looked broken, but he kept walking. His name was Elias Raindot, and he had made a bet no one believed. 3 days ago, the Galactic Council announced the final tournament of strength. Every species was allowed to send one warrior. The winner would earn control over new star systems and respect from all others. Earth had never sent anyone before. The Council thought humans were too weak, too emotional. Just animals pretending to be smart. This time, they got a surprise. When the Council opened the gate for Earth's champion, Elias stepped forward alone, injured, and without a sponsor. The announcers had laughed. The crowd had laughed. Even the other fighters had laughed. "Where is your army?" One alien had asked, towering over him. "I am enough." Elias had answered Dot, then he made the bet. He walked up to the Council's leader, a tall, silver-skinned being named Varun, the High Judge, and something no one had expected. "I bet I can win this tournament, not just fight." "Win?" Varun raised a sharp eyebrow. "You, a half-dead human with one good arm?" Elias nodded. "If I win, Earth becomes a full member of the Council. If I lose, you can ban Earth forever." "No second chances," the crowd gasped. Even the machines paused. Varun smiled. "Interesting. The bet is accepted." And that was how the galaxy's most dangerous game began, with a wounded man and a bet no one believed. Now, Elias stood at the center of the arena, breathing slow, ignoring the boos from the crowd. Across from him, his first opponent stepped in. It was a Drachmer, a beast-like creature twice his height. Covered in dark red scales, with sharp claws and burning yellow eyes. It flexed its arms and growled. "He will die in 10 seconds. Someone in the crowd shouted. Elias didn't blink. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena. "Let the first fight begin." The Drachmer roared and charged. Elias stood still. His fingers twitched. His knees bent slightly. His eyes locked on the creature's chest, not its face. When the Drachmer raised its right arm to crush him, Elias moved. A sidestep. A twist. A punch to the ribs. The crowd didn't understand, but the Drachmer felt it. It roared in pain and swung again. Elias ducked and kicked its knee. The beast stumbled, surprised. It had never fought someone so fast. Or so smart. Elias kept moving, never staying in one place, never wasting a step. His injured body screamed in pain, but he didn't stop. He remembered every fight he'd survived back on Earth. He remembered the alley fights, the war zones, the betrayals. Pain was normal. Pain was old. But this fight was new. And important. The Drachmer got angrier. It threw wild punches. It screamed. And that's when Elias struck. He grabbed a piece of metal from the ground, just a shard, and jammed it under the beast's arm, where the scales were soft. It howled. Then Elias leapt on its back, twisted its neck just enough, and brought it down with a loud crack. Silence. Then. Winner. Human. The arena froze. No one cheered. No one moved. Then, slowly, someone clapped. It was a small alien, with silver eyes, sitting in the back row. No one knew who they were, but Elias noticed. He didn't smile. He just walked out of the ring, dragging his bad leg behind him. In the recovery chamber, Elias sat on a cold bench. A robot tried to fix his shoulder. He waved it away. Pain was good. It kept him awake. He closed his eyes, remembering the war back home. Earth had been invaded 2 years ago by allies of the Council. A test, they called it. Elias had fought until the last day. His team was wiped out. He survived because he was stubborn. Not lucky. Just stubborn. Now, he was fighting again. Not just for himself, but for Earth. They didn't believe in him. Even the people of Earth had called him crazy. But he knew one thing. The Council feared humans. That's why they laughed so hard. Because deep down, they were nervous. And he had just given them a reason. To be. Later that night, in a council chamber high above the arena, Varun stood with other powerful leaders. He should have died, said a thick-voiced warlord. Varun nodded slowly. Yes, but he didn't. Do we cancel the bet? Another asked. Say he cheated? Varun shook his head. No, let him fight. If he wins, it will reveal what humans really are. And if he loses, then the galaxy watches Earth fall. Back in his sleeping pod, Elias opened a small metal box. Inside was a single photo, old, scratched, almost ruined. A little girl smiled in it, holding a flower. His daughter. She died in the last invasion. He whispered her name. Lena. That name was why he kept fighting. That was his bet, not just for Earth, but for her. He closed the box and leaned back. His body hurt in every place. His arm was getting worse. He had no team, no allies, no plan. But he had his will. And tomorrow came the next fight. In another corner of the arena city, a tall figure watched a replay of the humans' fight on a glowing screen. The silver-eyed alien from the crowd. They didn't smile, but they whispered. The old stories were true. Elias Rain woke up with a sharp pain in his chest. The medical pod buzzed softly around him. Machines scanned his body, trying to fix the broken bones, the torn muscles, the deep bruises. But it wasn't working fast enough. His body had taken too much damage in the last fight. He pushed the pod open with a grunt and stood up slowly. His right arm still didn't move. His ribs hurt with every breath. But his eyes were sharp, focused. He couldn't rest. Another fight was coming. And this time, the enemy would be worse. Outside, the arena city moved like a giant beast. Ships flew across the sky. Aliens filled the walkways, tall, short, strong, armored, winged, scaled, all different, all dangerous. Some pointed at him as he walked through the hallways. That's the human, the broken one. He won by luck. He won by something else. Elias ignored them all. He didn't care what they thought. Words meant nothing. The only thing that mattered was the next fight. But deep inside, he knew something. His body was failing. He had maybe 2 or 3 fights left in him before it all fell apart. And his next opponent was the Sandclaw. The Sandclaw wasn't famous for his size. He was medium height, with thin arms and gray skin, but he was known for one thing. He never lost. Every fighter who faced him quit, ran, or died. Not because he was stronger, but because he was cruel. He liked to hurt his enemies slowly. He made them beg before finishing the fight. He smiled when they screamed. And now he wanted to break the human. Inside a dark training room, Elias stood in front of a tall mirror. He moved his left arm carefully, wrapping a piece of metal around his forearm like a makeshift shield. Behind him, a door opened. It was the same silver-eyed alien from the crowd. Elias turned fast, his hand reaching for a blade on the bench. I don't want trouble, he said. The alien raised one hand peacefully. I came to talk. About what? You. Elias said nothing. The alien stepped forward. They had smooth silver skin, no mouth, and glowing eyes. You fought like someone with nothing to lose, they said. But that's not true, is it? Elias looked away. The alien continued. Your body is dying. You can't win this tournament with strength. I know. Then how will you survive? Elias looked back at the mirror. He stared at his broken reflection and whispered, Pain is a language. I've spoken it all my life. Now I'll teach it to them. The next day, the arena filled again. This time, the crowd was louder, curious, angry, excited. Elias walked in slowly. Every step a battle. The Sandclaw was already waiting. He stretched his thin arms and smiled. "I don't kill fast," he said. "I want you to scream." Elias didn't answer. The bell rang. The fight began. The Sandclaw moved like a snake, fast, smooth, deadly. He danced around Elias, slicing at him with sharp finger blades. One cut across Elias's shoulder, another across his leg. Blood hit the dirt. The crowd cheered. Elias didn't fight back at first. He watched. He learned. He remembered every move, every habit, every weakness. The Sandclaw grew confident. "You can't even lift your arm." He laughed. Elias said nothing. Then the Sandclaw made a mistake. He tried to stab Elias from behind too close. Elias turned, grabbed his arm, and headbutted him hard. Bone cracked. The crowd gasped. The Sandclaw stumbled back, blood running from his nose. Elias moved forward, limping, breathing hard, but not stopping. He threw a punch with his left hand blocked. He kicked, dodged. Then he dropped low, grabbed a rock, and slammed it into the Sandclaw's knee. Snap. The Sandclaw screamed. Elias didn't stop. He tackled the alien to the ground, used his forearm shield to crush his opponent's throat. "Stop!" yelled the announcer. "Fight over." But Elias kept pressing for one more second. Then he let go. The Sandclaw lay on the ground, barely breathing. Elias stood up, shaking, covered in blood. He had won again, but the price was higher this time. He could barely walk as he left the ring. That night, a storm passed over the arena city. Lightning flashed across the sky. Rain poured down the windows. Elias sat alone in the dark, watching the lightning. He opened the metal box again, looked at the photo. "Still here," he whispered. Someone knocked on his door. It was the silver-eyed alien again. "You fought well," they said. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to destroy." The alien tilted their head. "Then let me help you." They sat across from each other. No food, no drinks, just silence and plans. The alien introduced themselves. "My name is Salin. I am not a soldier. I am a watcher. I study people, especially people like you." Elias frowned. "Why help me?" Salin paused. "Because I believe your fight is not just yours. This tournament is a lie. It's a way to control power, to scare weak species. The council keeps balance by fear." Elias nodded. "I know." Celine leaned in. "But you are chaos. You are different. If you win, everything changes." Elias looked at the photo. "Again, that's the plan." Elsewhere, Varun, the high judge, watched recordings of Elias's second fight. He frowned. "He's learning too fast." Another council member spoke. "Should we stop him?" Varun shook his head. "No, let him keep fighting. The harder he wins, the harder he falls." 3 hours later, Elias stood in a private chamber. Celine had brought him data about the next fighters, about council secrets, about rigged matches and past tournaments. It was worse than he thought. One of the next fighters wasn't even real. A machine built only to kill, and it had already been set to face him next. "I thought this was a tournament between warriors." Elias growled. "It was," Salin said. "Now it's a trap." Elias took a deep breath. His side hurt. His arm was almost useless. But he smiled. "Then I'll break the machine too." Before the night ended, Elias sent a message to Earth. It was short, simple, and direct. Still alive. Still fighting. Still human. The message traveled through space, past dead satellites, past broken stations, and finally landed on a small base on Mars, one of the last outposts still listening. The humans there cheered. Someone whispered, "He's giving us hope." The next morning, the arena was silent. People weren't laughing anymore. Some were scared. Some were curious. Some started to cheer for the human, and some wanted him dead. Elias stood at the edge of the ring, staring at the gate. He knew what was coming. A machine. Built for one thing, end him. His body wasn't ready, but his will was. He whispered to himself one last time before walking into the light. Pain made me. Blood trained me. War raised me. Now let's see what the machine learned. The sky over the arena turned dark. Black clouds floated above, as if the galaxy itself wanted to hide what was coming next. Inside the metal walls, thousands of aliens sat in silence. No cheers, no laughter. Just cold, heavy silence. Because today, the human would face something that had never lost. Something that did not feel pain. Something that could not be reasoned with. Unit-X-19. A machine made by the Council for War, not sport. It stood 7 feet tall. Its body was covered in thick silver armor, blades folded inside its arms. Red lights glowed where its eyes should be. And today, it had one goal: crush Elias Rain. Elias stood alone in the waiting tunnel. He adjusted the wraps on his arm. His shoulder was almost useless now. His left ribs were cracked. His leg had swollen overnight. He hadn't eaten in 20 hours, but he still stood tall. He had watched Unit X-19's past fights. The machine didn't play. It ended matches in seconds. One shot to the head. One slice through the heart. Done. Elias wasn't afraid of pain, but he knew this wasn't like before. This was no longer just a tournament. This was execution. From the announcer's tower, a voice echoed across the arena. Next match. A rare test. Flesh versus steel. The broken human versus the Council's champion, Unit X-19. Cheers broke out. But they weren't for Elias. They were for the machine. The gates opened. Elias walked forward slowly, dragging his bad leg. The crowd watched in silence again. Some leaned forward. Some looked away, because everyone thought the same thing. This time, he would not get up again. Unit X-19 dropped from above, landing in the ring with a loud metallic boom. It looked at Elias, scanned him from head to toe. Then it spoke in a cold robotic voice. Analysis complete. Target unstable. Recommendation: terminate immediately. Elias didn't blink. He whispered to himself. Machines forget one thing. We fight with more than just flesh. The fight began. The machine struck first. A blade shot out from its arm and sliced toward Elias's throat. Elias ducked just in time, rolled to the side, and threw a piece of broken ground at the machine's head. It bounced off. Useless. Unit X-19 charged forward like a tank. Elias ran around the edge of the arena, keeping his distance. The machine fired a shockwave. Elias was thrown back, slammed into the wall. He coughed blood, but he got up. The machine rushed again. This time, Elias rolled under its legs and stabbed a sharp bolt into the back of its knee joint. Sparks. But no damage. Unit X-19 turned fast and grabbed Elias by the neck, lifting him off the ground. End of threat, it said. But Elias was smiling. He reached into his belt and slammed a mini MP spike into the machine's chest. The device exploded with a blue flash. The crowd gasped. Unit X-19 dropped Elias and stumbled back. Smoke rose from its chest. Its voice glitched for a second. Seize. Reboot. Elias coughed and grabbed a pipe from the ground. He ran at the machine while it was stunned and smashed the pipe into its leg again and again. Come on, he shouted. But Unit X-19 recovered too fast. It punched Elias hard in the chest. He flew across the ring, bounced once, and lay still. The crowd stood. Elias wasn't moving. In the control room, Varun watched with cold eyes. He's finished. One of the officers said. Via, RU unraised a finger. Wait. In the ring, Elias opened one eye. Blood dripped from his mouth. His whole chest felt crushed. but he remembered something his father once told him during a fight. Back on Earth, when you're down, you get up. If you can't get up, you crawl. And if you can't crawl, you bite their damn foot off. He smiled, and he moved, one finger at a time, then a hand, then his elbow. The crowd gasped. Again, the human was still alive. Unit X-19 walked toward him slowly. Blades ready. But Elias had a plan now. He reached into his boot and pulled out a small round. Disc 1 of Selen's gifts. A hacking tool. He'd saved it for this exact moment. He waited. Pain screamed through every nerve in his body. Then, just as the machine leaned in to strike, he jammed the disc into its main chest panel. The red lights in Unit X-19's eyes flashed. It froze. Sparks flew again. The machine made a high-pitched, whining sound and dropped to one knee. Elias used the last of his strength to climb onto the machine's back. He pulled out his only real weapon, a sharpened metal rod, and drove it deep into the same chest panel. Twisting hard. The machine jerked, glitched, and finally fell. Dead. The arena went silent. Then the announcer's voice rang out. Unit X-19. Terminated. Winner. Human. Elias collapsed next to the machine. He wasn't moving anymore. Medical bots rushed in and carried him away. Some in the crowd stood and clapped. Others stayed quiet. The machine was the Council's weapon, and it had lost. Salen watched from a hidden corner, their eyes glowing brighter than ever. He did it. They whispered. Back in the medical chamber, Elias was unconscious. Machines worked non-stop to keep him breathing. Broken ribs, internal bleeding, dislocated shoulder, crushed ankle, but his heart still beat. Strong. Meanwhile, on a distant moon, Earth's outpost received the new message. Unit X-19 destroyed. Elias Rain survives. A young soldier dropped his drink. No way. An old officer whispered. He's doing what none of us ever could. Inside the council chambers, the leaders argued. This is impossible. He's just a man. He has help. Someone is feeding him intel. Varun stood and silenced them. No. He is what the humans were always meant to be. They just needed a reason to rise. Someone asked, what do we do now? Varun looked out the window toward the stars. We give him the next challenge. The one meant for gods. Hours later, Elias opened his eyes slowly. Everything hurt, but he was alive. Salen stood next to the bed. You shouldn't be breathing. They said. I shouldn't be many things, Elias whispered. You broke the machine. I break what? I must, Salen nodded. Next match, you face Kavar the Flame. Elias raised an eyebrow. Let me guess, a fire god? No, Salen said. Worse. That night, as the arena lights shut down, the galaxy changed. The human had defeated Steel. Now, he would face fire, and the crowd. They weren't laughing anymore. They were watching. Waiting. Him hoping he wins. Others praying he falls. But Elias Rain? He was just getting started. The air was thick with heat. The arena was filled with smoke and burning embers. Flames danced along the metal walls. The ground was cracked and red-hot. The next opponent was waiting. Kavar the Flame, a warrior from the volcanic planet of Pirthas. Kavar's body burned like a living fire. His skin glowed red and orange, and his eyes flashed like molten lava. His hands were flames that never cooled. He was the one everyone feared. Elias Rain entered the arena slowly. His body ached in ways he had never felt before. Every breath was pain. Every step tested his broken leg and crushed ribs. His arm was still useless, hanging by his side. But his eyes burned with fierce determination. He remembered what Salen had told him. Kavar does not fight with his body. He fights with his mind. If you lose control, he will burn you alive. Elias nodded to himself. This fight would be different. This fight was a battle of wits and willpower. Kavar smiled when he saw Elias. Human, he said in a voice like crackling fire. You have already lost. Your body is weak. Your spirit is weak. Elias did not answer. The crowd was silent. The announcer's voice rang out, "Fight." Kavar moved quickly, flames shooting from his fists. The heat was intense. Elias felt sweat pour down his face even before the fight started. Kavar's attacks were not just physical. They were meant to scare, to confuse. Flames flashed near Elias's face, and he barely dodged. Elias felt panic for the first time in weeks. His body wanted to run, to hide, but he forced himself to stay. Kavar circled him, flames flickering like snakes. "You will burn." Kavar whispered. Elias closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened them wide and shouted, "Not today." He charged forward, using his left arm to block a burst of fire. The heat was unbearable, but he kept going. He grabbed a burning piece of rock from the ground and threw it at Kavar. Kavar laughed. "Is that all?" The fire warrior swung his flaming fist, sending Elias flying across the arena. Elias hit the ground hard. Pain exploded through his chest and ribs. He struggled to stand. Kavar approached slowly, flames licking the air. "Give up, human," he said, but Elias shook his head. His mind raced. He remembered Selen's warning. Kavar fights with fear. If you lose your mind, you lose your life. Elias breathed deeply. He focused on something small, the picture of his daughter Lena. The crowd watched silently. The heat from the flames was growing worse. Elias stood taller. He looked at Kavar and said quietly, "You fight with fire. I fight with hope." Kavar's eyes narrowed. He attacked again. This time, Elias was ready. He dodged, ducked, and rolled. He used his broken leg to trip. Kavar, the fire warrior, stumbled. Elias took a deep breath and jumped. He grabbed Kavar's flaming arm and twisted hard. Kavar screamed in pain. Flames shot out wildly, burning a large hole in the ground. Elias used the moment to strike Kavar's chest with his left fist. The fight became brutal. Kavar's flames grew stronger. Elias's body grew weaker, but neither would give up. They moved like lightning, striking and blocking. Elias's ribs cracked again. Kavar's skin blistered. Suddenly, Kavar stopped. He stepped back and smiled. "You are stronger than I thought," he said. Elias wiped blood from his mouth. Kavar raised his hand. "End this now," he said. Elias hesitated. Kavar's flames grew hotter. Suddenly, Elias saw something, a weakness. Kavar's flames were strongest near his heart. Elias reached into his belt and pulled out a small metal ball. He threw it at Kavar's chest. The ball exploded with a cold blue light. The flames flickered and died for a moment. Kavar roared in pain. Elias charged and tackled Kavar to the ground. He held Kavar's arm down and shouted, "I win!" The announcer screamed, "Fight over! Human wins!" The crowd erupted with cheers. Some aliens shouted in shock. Others stared in disbelief. Kavar lay on the ground, breathing heavily. Elias stood, shaking but alive. Later, in the medical chamber, Elias lay on a bed. Selen sat beside him. "Won because you never gave up," Selen said. "But my body is breaking." Elias said quietly, "You will have to fight harder," Selen replied. "The next fights will be even worse." Elias nodded. He looked at the photo of Lena again. He whispered, "For her, I will do anything." Meanwhile, in the council chambers, Varun looked angry. "How is this possible?" he asked. "That human is a threat," another leader said. Varun smiled coldly. "Then we must prepare the final battle." Back at the arena, Elias prepared himself for the next fight. His body ached, but his spirit burned. He had made a bet no one believed, and now the galaxy was watching. The arena was quieter than before. The air felt heavy, like a storm ready to break. Everyone waited for Elias Rain's next fight. But before he stepped into the ring, something unexpected happened. Late at night, after the crowd had left and the lights dimmed, Elias was alone in his room. The metal walls hummed softly around him. He sat on the cold floor, his body aching from the last fight. His right arm was almost useless. Now his ribs still throbbed, but his mind was clear. Suddenly, the door hissed open. A figure stepped inside. It was the silver-eyed alien, who had watched him since the beginning. Elias stood slowly. "Why are you here?" he asked. The alien didn't speak. Instead, they moved closer and placed a small device on the floor. The device began to glow softly. Elias bent down and looked at it. It was a translator and communicator, a tool he did not recognize. The alien finally spoke, but their voice was quiet and strange. "I am Salin. I watch, I know." Elias frowned. "What do you know?" Salin looked at him with glowing eyes. "The tournament is not what you think." Elias's heart quickened. Salin continued. "The Galactic Council controls everything. This tournament is a lie." Elias's eyes narrowed. "How?" "The Council uses the games to show power, to scare the galaxy, to keep control." "Then what happens if I win?" Elias asked. "Nothing is simple," Salin said. "If you win, they will not welcome Earth. They will erase it." Elias's breath caught. "Why?" "Because humans are too unpredictable, too dangerous." Elias's hands clenched. "So they want me to lose?" "Yes," Salin replied. "But you are different. You can change everything." Elias sat back, feeling the weight of the truth. He had believed this was about honor, about fighting for Earth's place. Now he saw it was a trap, a game designed to end him. But Salin's words also gave him hope. The next day, Elias stood before the arena gates. His body ached more than ever. His arm hung weak. His breathing was heavy, but his eyes were strong. He was ready. Inside the arena, the crowd waited. The next opponent was announced. Zorath the Mindbreaker, a tall, thin alien with long fingers and a cold stare. Zorath was known for his mental powers. He could read minds, plant thoughts, and crush wills. He was the most feared fighter in the tournament. The fight began. Zorath moved slowly, his eyes fixed on Elias. Elias felt a strange pressure in his head. Thoughts he didn't want to think. Memories twisted and changed. Fear rose like a wave, but Elias fought back. He focused on one thing: his daughter's photo, the pain of loss, the love that gave him strength. Zorath smiled. "You cannot hide from me." Elias shouted, "I am not afraid." He charged forward, dodging mental attacks. Zorath struck with his long fingers, trying to touch Elias's forehead. Elias blocked with his arm. The battle became a war of mind and body. Each strike brought pain, each dodge hope. Suddenly, Elias saw a flicker. Zorath's mind was not perfect. There was a crack. Elias attacked harder. He punched Zorath's chest, breaking through the alien's mental shield. Zorath stumbled. Elias pressed his advantage. He pushed Zorath back, shouting, "You don't own me." Zorath roared in anger. He tried one last mental blast. Elias covered his head and shouted, "No!" The blast hit his shoulder. Pain exploded, but Elias did not fall. He grabbed Zorath's arm and threw him to the ground. The crowd exploded with cheers. Elias stood over Zorath, breathing hard. The announcer declared, "Winner human." Elias's heart pounded. He had won, but the cost was high. His body was breaking. His mind was tired, but his spirit was unbroken. Back in his room, Salin waited. "You fought well," Salin said, "but the Council will send stronger enemies." Elias replied, "We must prepare." Salin said. Elias looked at his reflection in the metal wall. He whispered, "This fight is not just for me." Far above, in the council chamber, Varun stared at the screens. "He is a threat," Varun said coldly. "He will not win." "But he has not lost yet," said another leader. Varun smiled darkly. "Then it is time." The next morning, Elias prepared for the hardest fight. Yet, his body was weak. His arm barely moved, but his heart burned with fire. He had made a bet no one believed. And now, he would fight for everything. The arena was silent, every eye fixed on the center ring. Tonight was not just another fight. It was the final battle. The battle Elias Rain was never supposed to win. The bright lights shone down on the cracked stone floor. Elias limped slowly into the ring. His body was battered and weak. His right arm hung uselessly at his side. His ribs still hurt every time he breathed, but his eyes burned with fire. He was ready. Across from him stood the final opponent, Varun, the High Judge himself, the silver-skinned leader of the Galactic Council. He was tall, with cold eyes that seemed to look into a person's soul. No one had ever fought Varun before. No one had ever lived after challenging him. The crowd gasped. They whispered, "This fight is a death sentence." The announcer's voice echoed, "Final match. The broken human versus the judge of the galaxy." Elias looked at Varun calmly. Via, Run smiled, a cruel smile. "So human," he said, "you have made it this far, but this is where your story ends." The bell rang. Varun moved first, fast and deadly. He attacked like a storm, his hands glowing with power. Elias dodged and blocked, but the force hit him hard. Pain exploded in his chest. Varun laughed. "Your body is weak, your spirit is weak, but you think you can beat me?" Elias did not answer. He remembered all the fights before. All the pain, all the loss. Varun attacked again, but this time, Elias was ready. He dodged and struck back. His left fist hit Varun's arm. Varun was surprised. Elias moved with all his strength. He was fighting not just with his body, but with his heart. The crowd was silent. They watched as Elias and Varun clashed. The battle was fierce. Power against will. Steel against flesh. Suddenly, Varun used a power no one had seen before. His eyes glowed bright. Energy flowed from his hands. Wave of force hit Elias. He flew across the ring, hitting the ground hard. Elias lay still. His breath was short. He was losing. But then, he remembered the bet, the promise to Earth, the hope for his daughter Lena. Slowly, Elias stood up. His body screamed in pain. His arm hung lifeless. But he refused to fall. Varun approached, ready to finish him. Elias looked into the judge's eyes. With all his strength, he shouted, "I am not done yet." Elias charged. With a sudden burst of energy, he tackled Varun. They hit the ground, rolling and fighting. Elias grabbed a sharp piece of metal from the floor. He pressed it against Varun's chest. Varun froze. The fight stopped. The crowd held their breath. Varun looked into Elias's eyes and nodded slowly. "You have won, human." The arena erupted in shocked silence, then cheers. No one expected Elias to win, but he did. Elias fell to his knees. His body was broken. His spirit was exhausted, but he had won. Varun raised Elias's hand. "You have changed the galaxy," he said, "but your victory comes with a price." Elias looked confused. Varun continued, "You have won the right for Earth to join the Galactic Council, but you must give something in return." Elias nodded slowly. He was ready for anything. Varun said, "You must serve as the Council's protector, protect the galaxy from threats, and obey our laws." Elias swallowed hard. He had fought for Earth's freedom. Now, he was being asked to serve the very council that tried to erase them. But Elias understood. Sometimes, victory is not about winning battles. It is about what you do after the fight. He stood tall and said, "I accept." The crowd cheered loudly. Elias had become a legend. Back in his chamber, Elias looked at the photo of Lena. He whispered, "This is only the beginning." The sky above the galactic hall was dark. Stars shone quietly, like they were watching. The battle was over. Elias Rain had won. He was not just a fighter, now he was a symbol. But victory had a price. Inside the council's tall chamber, many alien leaders sat. Elias stood before them, his body tired, but his eyes clear. One of the leaders A soft-skinned creature with golden scales said, "Earth will now join the Galactic Union. By Elias Rain's hand, humans have proven their strength." The others nodded. But Elias didn't smile. He remembered Selen's words. The Council does not care about honor. They care about power. And now they saw Elias as their weapon. Later in a private room, Elias met with Selen. "You should be proud," Selen said. "I am not proud," Elias replied. "I won, but I lost something too." Selen looked at him with soft eyes. "You lost your home." Elias nodded. "I lost myself." Days passed. News of Elias's victory spread across the galaxy. On some planets, people cheered his name. On others, they feared him. Some called him the Broken Champion. Others called him the Weapon of Earth. But Elias didn't care about names. He only cared about his daughter Lena. One evening, Elias stood at a viewing deck, looking out at a blue star. He held Lena's photo in his hand. The photo was old now, the edges worn, but her smile never faded. "She would have been proud," he whispered. A voice behind him spoke, then returned to her. Elias turned. It was Selen. Elias shook his head. "I can't. The Council owns me now." "No," Selen said softly. "You own your future." That night, Elias made a decision. He went to the council chamber and stood before the leaders. "I have done what no one believed I could," Elias said. "I fought your monsters. I survived your lies. I bled for your games." The chamber fell silent. "But now," Elias continued, "I will not be your weapon. I am walking away." Gasps filled the room. One council member shouted, "You can't leave." Another said, "You signed the oath." Elias looked at them with fire in his eyes. "I signed no chain. I gave you victory. Now I take my freedom." He turned and walked out. No one stopped him. No one dared. Outside, the stars lit the way. Elias found a small transport ship, old and dusty. It had no weapons, no shield. But it flew. Selen joined him at the gate. "You really are going back to Earth?" Selen asked. "Yes," Elias said. "To rebuild, to rest, to be human again." Selen nodded. "Then go. But know this, someday, the galaxy may call for you again." Elias smiled. "Let it. I'll be ready." The ship rose into the stars, leaving the council behind. Elias sat alone in the pilot's seat, the photo of Lena beside him. For the first time in many years, he closed his eyes and felt peace. 2 years later, on a quiet part of Earth, near the edge of a forest, a small house stood. Elias sat on the porch, his arms still stiff, his scars still there. But his heart was full. Lena, now 12, ran outside with a smile. "Dad," she shouted, "come see what I made." Elias stood slowly and followed her. She had built a model of the arena using sticks and rocks. "This was you." She pointed. Elias laughed. "That's too kind. I was never that tall." People sometimes visited. Pilots, explorers, even aliens. They came to hear stories, ask questions, or simply sit and watch the sky with the man who beat the galaxy. But Elias never told the full story. Some things he believed should be left in the stars. One night, while sitting under the stars, Lena asked, "Why did you really fight?" Elias was quiet for a moment. Then he answered, "I fought because they said I couldn't. I fought because I made a promise. I fought because no one else did. But in the end, I stopped fighting because I wanted to live." She nodded, as if she understood. They sat together, hand in hand, the night sky watching over them. Far away, in the deep corners of space, rumors grew again. A new threat. A shadow race, older than the council, was waking. And deep in the stars, the name Elias Rain returned. But for now, the legend rested. The man who walked into fire and walked back out. He had made the bet no one believed. He won. But what mattered most, he finally found peace.